We are tracking the breaking news in Minnesota tonight, where an ICE officer shot and killed a 37-year-old American woman. The Minneapolis Star-Tribune identified as Renee Good. Immediately afterwards, we saw the beginnings of protests on the streets and confrontations with law enforcement that grew into a huge peaceful gathering tonight at the site of the shooting. Just a short time ago, Minneapolis Public Schools announced that school will be canceled for the rest of the week due to safety concerns around the city. First, I do want to show you a video of what happened. We still do not know exactly what occurred in the moments leading up to the shooting. And no surprise, I'm going to warn you, this is disturbing and very upsetting to watch. Here it is. You just saw the video for yourself. You just saw the video. And despite what you saw with your own eyes, I want to share what the Department of Homeland Security said in an official statement 3 hours after the shooting happened. Quote, "Today, ICE officers in Minneapolis were conducting targeted operations when rioters began blocking ICE officers, and one of these violent rioters weaponized her vehicle, attempting to run over our law enforcement officers in an attempt to kill them, an act of domestic terrorism. An ICE officer, fearing for his life, the lives of his fellow law enforcement, and the safety of the public, fired defensive shots." End quote. And then this evening, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said that ICE operations will continue in the city of Minneapolis. She placed blame on the woman who was killed and defended the actions of the officer involved. Watch this.
It's very clear that this individual was harassing and impeding law enforcement operations. Our officer followed his training, did exactly what he's been taught to do in that situation, and took actions to defend himself and defend his fellow law enforcement officers.
Tonight, my colleague Chris Hayes spoke to Emily Heller, who witnessed the shooting, and I want to share what she had to say about the explanation, from Kristi Noem. Watch this.
I knew after witnessing it that this would be misconstrued into self-defense, which it absolutely is not. This was totally preventable and absolutely unnecessary.
Again, that was an eyewitness. In a social media post, President Trump said he watched the video and believes that the agent fired in self-defense. Earlier today, Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey pushed back on the federal government's explanation. Watch this.
They are already trying to spin this as an action of self-defense. Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody directly, that is bullshit. This was an agent recklessly using power that resulted in somebody dying, getting killed.
And this afternoon, Governor Tim Walz encouraged the government to pull its agents out of the state while showing support for the people of Minnesota.
I want Minnesotans to hear this from me. The desire to get out and protest and to speak up to this administration of how wrong this is, that is a patriotic duty at this point in time, but it needs to be done safely. I have a very simple message. We do not need any further help from the federal government. To Donald Trump and Kristi Noem, you've done enough. And so to Minnesotans, don't take the bait. Do not take the bait. Do not allow them to deploy federal troops into here. Do not allow them to invoke the Insurrection Act. Do not allow them to declare martial law.
I want to bring in MS Now reporter Alex Tabbitt. He is on the ground in Minneapolis, where a vigil is still taking place at this hour. What a day you've had. I'm so grateful that you're with us tonight. There have been peaceful protests going on throughout the afternoon and tonight. What is it like there right now? Tell us about the last 8 hours for you.
It's a somber somber moment here on 34th and Portland Avenue, where this tragedy transpired about 12 hours ago. As you can see, people are still laying flowers down in commemoration of the 37-year-old Renee Good, as identified by the Minnesota Star Tribune. And this is the exact place where this tragedy happened. I want to give you a little bit of a TikTok of the day. At around 9:30 a.m., according to Mayor Jacob Frey of Minneapolis, an ICE agent shot and killed Renee Good. At around 9:50 a.m., I received a text message from what's known as an ICE observer. Those are community members who patrol the streets, letting other community members know that ICE, that immigration, that Border Patrol is on the scene to keep people safe from racial profiling, safe from detention. And that text message said that somebody had been shot and killed. So we arrived on the scene, and I saw a gruesome image that will stay with me, Steph, for the rest of my life. I saw the car where Renee Good was sitting, the airbag exploded, and blood splattered everywhere. This entire area where we're at right now had been fenced off by state and local law enforcement, and inside we saw ICE agents, we saw Border Patrol agents, we saw Greg Bovino, and we saw tensions flare up between the protesters who arrived on the scene and those Border Patrol agents. Those tensions hit a boiling point. Tear gas went into the crowd. We saw protesters crying, hit the ground, hit the snow. I picked up one of the canisters. You can read it right here. Muzzle blast CS 400 millimeter powder dispenser round as those tensions flared. But then what we saw in the hours after, once those Border Patrol agents left the scene, we saw something beautiful. We saw community members rally together, light candles, say prayers, sing songs, and band together in this very, very difficult moment. This very difficult moment that happened less than half a mile away from where George Floyd was murdered. Now, even though it's been more than 12 hours since this transpired, you still have community members here protesting, chanting, but as you can see, it has been nothing but peaceful. It has been nothing but the community holding each other arm in arm as they try to get through this difficult moment. Steph?
Are people worried about growing anger in the city? What could we expect in the days to come? As you said, it is a beautiful community. It's peaceful throughout the night, but what are we in for in the next few days? As we heard, ICE isn't going anywhere.
I cannot definitively answer that question for you, Steph. I will say that I have not left this protest since I arrived here on the scene at around 10 a.m. this morning. And except for very, very rare instances of what looked like outside agitators causing a ruckus, it has been, by and large, incredibly peaceful. So I can't tell you what the next couple of days have in store. I can tell you that this community is on edge, has been on edge for more than a month now. Even before this immigration raid, when President Trump called the Somali diaspora here some 81,000 strong garbage, this community has been on edge. But I can't tell you definitively what's going to happen in the next couple of days, Steph.
Well, I am going to tell you definitively that we're grateful that you stayed out there with us tonight. We're grateful to have you. Please head to your hotel, take a hot shower, and head to bed. This has been such a day for you, and we're really grateful to have your live reporting. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Steph.
Now I want to bring in Rob D'Amico. He's a former FBI supervisor and MS Now national security and intelligence analyst. Tom Manger, former U.S. Capitol Police chief and MS Now law enforcement analyst, and former ICE acting director under President Obama. John Sandwig. Gentlemen, help us out tonight. John, Secretary Noem says the officer followed his training, the official training. Does that match what you've seen in the video?
Well, Stephanie, I think it's pretty clear the video raises serious questions about whether or not the officer followed the use of force rules at the department, whether he actually followed his training, and whether or not he made some serious tactical mistakes. I think the secretary's statement was incredibly irresponsible. The standard protocol in a situation like this is to commence an investigation. We do know now that an investigation has commenced, but to rush out and just say what were clearly, by the way, factually wrong statements about some of the circumstances that led up to the shooting, but also to make a conclusion immediately without, and I'll tell you, Stephanie, I worked at the department for 5 years for a secretary before I went over to ICE. The first reporting you get is always inaccurate. So to just rush out and reflexively conclude that this was a justified shooting before you have any evidence, before any investigation has been done, is just highly irresponsible and only furthers this credibility gap that ICE is suffering from. And frankly, that's undermining people's confidence in the investigation that's to follow.
Rob, what are you thinking tonight?
Absolutely. I mean, when you hear the statements that were made and then you look at the video, there's no way she could have saw the video and said those statements. And then to blanketly say those without having that, instead of saying, look, we've had an unfortunate incident, we're going to investigate it, we're going to find out what's going on. But then they doubled down later and saying that he followed the training. Well, I have a serious question on the training. I always hate to hindsight law enforcement officers on the thing, but when you start looking at it frame by frame, they slowed it down. There are serious questions on the use of force in that situation. And then the thing, though, that really got me after, and I just saw it just recently, was when they were refusing medical assistance to her, where they said that their medic was going to come in. He never came in. They refused to allow the ambulance to come in. I thought that, in fact, was one of the most unprofessional things as a group of people that I've ever seen in a law enforcement situation. She obviously isn't a threat anymore. She is bleeding in her vehicle. Why are you not rendering assistance in some way to get her medical attention?
And that's assuming she was a threat at any point. Tom, what did you see?
Yes.
So a couple of things. One, first of all, I agree with the two previous speakers. They absolutely outrageous that the secretary would say that this shooting is justified. Just a very short time after it occurred. I mean, there's just no way that that's a responsible thing to do. And certainly indicates she has no intention to give it an honest investigation but I think Rob's point about not rendering aid is a good one as well. But there's two things. One, the best practices and the training that most cops get now when you're involved in a shooting is for the officer, even the shooter, to render first aid, to try and give the victim the help they need after the shooting. That wasn't done. The fact that the shooter walked back, and no one approached him. No supervisor. No one checked on the shooter. This is just completely unheard of in terms of how officer-involved shooting are handled by the majority of police departments. There would have been a supervisor to talk to the shooter, bring the shooter aside, make sure that the shooter's available for questioning by the first investigators that get on the scene. That should have taken his weapon as evidence. There's a whole list of things that doesn't look like they were done, at least in any kind of timely fashion. So it was one thing after another with that, with the whole scenario that had me shaking my head thinking, first of all, this should not have happened. We don't know exactly why the woman was parked the way she was parked. But it certainly did appear, having watched the video many times now, it certainly did appear that she was trying to get away. She never got close to that officer. She's 2 to 3 feet away from that officer at any given time. And then to have the secretary and the president say that the officer was injured, went to the hospital, was run over, it's just absolutely outrageous, the kinds of misinformation, frankly, lies that are coming out from the people that should be making sure that there is an honest investigation done for this use of deadly force.
And beyond that, the secretary called what led up to the shooting domestic terrorism. What's your take there, John?
Stephanie, again, I think that unfortunately what we've seen with this administration is they've politicized ICE in a way we've never seen before. My fellow panelists will tell you the way in which these operations are being conducted, where you come in and you announce in advance that we're coming in to do these operations, the high visibility rather than just doing your work and then doing your media work on the back end of that. All of that kind of highlights, and frankly, the way in which the administration has rewarded and encouraged these agents to do what ICE officers aren't trained to do, which is confront protesters and deal with crowd control. It's just not the part of their core mission. All of this tells me that, that has inflamed these tensions and says the administration is not interested in de-escalation here, but again, interested in scoring political points, even of what's obviously a tragedy here. And Stephanie, very quickly, I think the secretary's decision to return to Minneapolis tonight is really egregious. Just continuing to try to fan the flames and doubling down on this operation rather than showing a little bit of respect here. And frankly, that's what's reflected in this statement as well, calling this domestic terrorism rather than simply doing what every other department leader would have done in the history of the department, which is say, we're going to do a thorough investigation. We're going to provide maximum transparency as soon as we can.
Then, John, are you questioning at all what the training is for ICE officers currently? We know this year there has been a huge ramp up in ICE officers who have been hired. They have sped up the training. And as John was mentioning just a moment ago, this should have been done, that should have been done. Is there a chance that the training that law enforcement or ICE officers are accustomed to or should go through, that perhaps it's just not happening?
Yes, Stephanie, listen, this is why we need to do this investigation. As the chief pointed out a moment ago, there are protocols. Those protocols he described are ICE protocols as well. It is, to be fair, it's hard to tell from these videos whether or not those actually happen or the extent to which they did or did not happen. But absolutely, we've seen this administration go on this hiring binge. We don't know the experiential level of this officer. We don't know of his training, but we do know that the administration is feeling a sense of urgency to get new agents out on the street so they can ramp up the arrest numbers. We know that they've shortened the amount of time, the basic FLETC training that these officers go through. Did that play a role in this tonight? I don't know. It is premature. We need to do this thorough investigation. But certainly that causes me concern. And candidly, Stephanie, across the board, this is the 9th shooting, I believe, since September. That is a very high number. I don't remember the data points when I was at ICE, but that is an incredibly high number, 9 shootings in just the span of a few months.